Hello, I am Brittany Lee Duffus,
And I am Tashana Irvin.
and we'll be presenting on The Schoolhouse Gate by Justin Driver, Chapter 2, Freedom of Expression from Black Armbands to BONG Hits for Jesus.
The objectives for this presentation are introduction, Tinker versus Des Moines, Bethel School District versus Fraser, Hazelwood School District versus Colmeyer, Morse versus Frederick, and then we'll end with conclusion.
Introduction. The First Amendment applies to all levels of government, including public schools. Although the courts have permitted school officials to limit the rights of students under some circumstances, the courts have also recognized that students, like all citizens, are guaranteed the rights protected by the First Amendment.
The first case we'll be looking at today is the Tinker versus Des Moines Independent Community School District. Okay, so the facts of the case, it was argued on November the 12th, 1968. The case was decided on February 24th, 1969. The plaintiff of the case was Mirabeth Tinker, and the defendant was Des Moines Independent Community School District. Okay, so for the case study summary. In 1965, Ohio teenagers, Mirabeth Tinker, her brother John, and their friend Christopher Eckhart decided to stage a peaceful protest of the Vietnam War by wearing black armbands to their public schools. School officials announced that the students who wore armbands had to remove them or face suspension. The Tinker siblings and Eckhart refused to remove their armbands, and the district suspended them until their protest ended. The parents of the two families filed suit in the U.S. District Court, which actually upheld the decision of the Des Moines School Board. A tie vote in the U.S. Court of Appeals meant that the U.S. District Court's decision continued to stand and forced the Tinkers and Eckarts to appeal to the Supreme Court directly. Since the Des Moines school system set a policy preventing them from expressing themselves, that then became an attack on the children's First Amendment rights. West Virginia's State Board of Education versus Barnett was used as a precedent because it stated that students in public schools have some constitutional protections. The Supreme Court held that the armbands represented pure speech by the students. The Supreme Court also held that the students could not lose their First Amendment rights, which is freedom of speech, when they stepped onto school property.
The next case is the Bethel School District versus Fraser, crude student speech. The facts of the case. The case was argued on March 3rd, 1986. It was decided on July 7th, 1986. The plaintiff was Matthew Fraser, and the defendant was Bethel School District. Matthew Fraser gave a speech at his high school for a chance to deliver the graduation speech. His speech included sexual innuendos such as "he's firm in his pants" and "we'll go to the very end, even the climax for." The school suspended him for 3 days for use of inappropriate language and disqualified him from the elections. Fraser, along with his parents, sued the school district for violation of his First Amendment right to freedom of speech. The district and Court of Appeal ruled in favor of Fraser. The school district contested this and took it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that Fraser's right to freedom of speech was not violated. Contrary to Tinker versus Des Moines, there was disruptive behavior and inappropriate speech involved.
The third case we'll be looking at today is the Hazelwood School District versus Colmeyer, regulating school newspapers. So the fact of the case, it was argued on October 30, 1987, and decided on January 30, 1988. The plaintiff for the case was student journalist of Hazelwood East I, and the defendant was Hazelwood School District. So the summary of the case. Hazelwood East High student journalists compiled a 6-page newspaper. The teacher in charge brought it to the school's principal for approval. Upon printing, it was discovered that only 4 out of the 6 pages were published. The journalists found out that 2 pages were removed because they spoke of divorce and teenage pregnancy. The district court ruled in favor of the school. The Court of Appeal ruled in favor of the students. And then the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the school, stating that school-sponsored activities can be censored as seen fit, and the students' right to freedom of speech was not violated.
Our next case is Morris versus Frederick, permitting viewpoint restrictions on pro-drug speech. This case was argued on March 19, 2007, and it was decided on June 25, 2007. The plaintiff was Joseph Frederick, and the defendant was the Juneau Douglas High School. The principal of Juneau Douglas High School, Deborah Morse, allowed students to leave one of their class periods in order to attend the 2002 Winter Olympics torch relay. During the event, Joseph and his friends displayed a banner with the words, "BONG HiTS for Jesus," which they claimed was a publicity stunt. The principal suspended Joseph because she thought the language was inappropriate and also promoted drugs. Joseph sued because he thought his right to freedom of speech was violated. The district court ruled in favor of the school. The Court of Appeal reversed this decision. The Supreme Court agreed with the district court's decision and stated that the school was correct because it was a school-sponsored event and the banner promoted drugs.
Okay, so the conclusion for today is all these cases, in one way or another, tackled the concept of freedom of speech and what constitutes a violation of one's rights, according to the First Amendment.
Thank you for watching, and we hope you learned something. Bye.
Bye.